Suppose injury, that was here.
We're cutting across to breaking news that's come in. P Chidambaram has got bail in the INX Media case. This is it with regards to the Enforcement Directorate's case against the former finance minister. So finally, relief that's come in for P Chidambaram as the Supreme Court has gone ahead and granted bail to Chidambaram. The Supreme Court during the hearing has said that the gravity of offence has to be adjudged by facts and circumstances of every case. And they've also said that the courts must be sensitive to the nature of the case. The Supreme Court has also said that it's not a rule that bail should be denied in every single case, while also stating that the Delhi High Court was justified in denying bail relating to the gravity of the offence. The Supreme Court has said that we disapprove of the Delhi High Court making observations on the merits of the case itself. In fact, they've also, given some breather for P Chidambaram. And keep in mind, this is on the Enforcement Directorate's case against the former finance minister. Essentially, what you're seeing now is one relief after another. So finally, breather for the former finance minister. Taking this across to Ashutosh for more details. Ashutosh, give us a quick sense of what happened in the Supreme Court and what really does this mean for Chidambaram, considering the CBI case and the ED case?
Well, it's a big relief for former Finance Minister P Chidambaram after spending 107 days. That also includes the police custody of ED. The 14 days of police custody finally has been granted bail by the Supreme Court. Earlier, it was bail given in the CBI court, but from 17th October onwards, he were in judicial custody in the ED. The case was filed by ED, and finally, the Supreme Court grants bail to the P Chidambaram. And remember, the ground has been almost the same, be the CBI case or the case filed by the Enforcement Directorate. The CBI every often then has been saying that P Chidambaram, when he comes out of bail, he can tamper with the evidence, he can influence the witnesses in that case. But here the Supreme Court said, even while granting bail in the case filed by CBI, that you have to prove your point. You have to substantiate that how can P Chidambaram, when if he is given bail, can really tamper with the evidences.
No, here, what Ashutosh, explain something to us. You know, the CBI has already granted bail to him, the Supreme Court, I beg your pardon, in the CBI case. And now the ED case also has been granted bail. Does this mean that now finally Chidambaram will walk out of Tihar?
Absolutely, he is set to walk out soon. Once the Supreme Court orders, the parties will receive, they will move to the lower court, the concerned court, those who had issued the remand and judicial custody. Then that's a legal formality. Once they will have the release order, they will move to the Tihar Jail, and Tihar officials, when confirmed with the letter, the release warrant, P Chidambaram is, and almost in very certainty, he can walk out by this afternoon.
Okay, Ashutosh, I'll just come back to you. Let me quickly take this across to Anisha Mathur, who was inside the Supreme Court, inside the courtroom, giving us all those updates. Anisha, if you could just sum up for us what happened in court.
Well, P Chidambaram has been granted bail after about 105 days in custody in this INX Media case. What is interesting is, however, that the Supreme Court, in one of his conditions that has been imposed on P Chidambaram, has said that he will not make any public comment or give any press interviews with regard to this particular case. As Ashutosh was discussing, now that the order has been passed, the process now begins. His lawyers will take the order to the trial court, will submit the bail bonds, that is 2 lakh rupees bail bonds with 2 sureties, and there is a chance that P Chidambaram would walk out of Tihar Jail by this evening. But it is very interesting to see the kind of the condition that has been imposed by the Supreme Court on this, because especially since this case has received so much attention, a lot of political statements have been made with regard to this particular case. P Chidambaram was, in fact, while in custody, has made certain statements. While coming to court, he has been making statements to the media. So now the Supreme Court has imposed this condition that he will not be making any public statements with regard to this particular case, even when he does come out of jail. But a big relief for P Chidambaram, as he has finally been granted bail in the INX Media ED case. Now, with the CBI case, of course, is going on in the trial court, but we'll see how this now works out, because the ED is yet to file a charge sheet in this case.
So 105 days after he was jailed, Chidambaram is all set to walk free now. This is conditional bail that's been granted. Two sureties that Chidambaram is providing, as well as a bail bond of 2 lakh rupees. One of the conditions that the Supreme Court has also mentioned is that Chidambaram should not make any press statements, should not interact with the media after his release. Let me take this across to Munish Pandey as well. Munish, you've had the CBI and the ED very openly rushing to one court and after another, making it clear that they're against bail, against the release of P Chidambaram. This is a setback for the agencies, no doubt. Are they already, figuring out their next legal step?
Yeah, well, the only legal option they have available is to file a review petition, because remember, this is a bail granted by the Supreme Court, and now they can't approach any other court. As far as the CBI and ED case is concerned, remember, initially when CBI arrested, the allegation was that more than 3 crore rupees have been diverted, and this was the proceed of crime. But finally, when the charge sheet was filed, only 9.96 lakh, and that also not only against P Chidambaram, but against 15 other people, including 6 IS officials, and that is why the court granted bail in this CBI case. Now, ED case was very important as far as the initial days are concerned. Remember, when initially P Chidambaram was arrested, then huge allegations were made by the Enforcement Directorate, saying that he has properties abroad India, he has properties on the name of Karti Chidambaram, they are Benami Sampattis and all. All these allegations were made against P Chidambaram at that point of time. Based on that documentary evidences, the court granted ED permission to arrest Mr. P Chidambaram, and then finally he was arrested. He was in 14 days custody. But what is serious here and important to point out is that ED, while in 14 days custody, they never asked any question to P Chidambaram regarding the abroad properties of Mr. P Chidambaram, which they were alleging for a long time. And that is why the court and also the defense was very, on their front foot, that if there is no allegation, if there are no questions regarding the abroad properties, then why he is being arrested? Because INX Media case is being probed by the CBI and also Enforcement Directorate, and every time there was a single argument given by the Enforcement Directorate and Central Bureau of Investigation is that he may go and tamper with the evidence, he may influence the witnesses. But when it was coming to the documentary evidences, both the agencies were unable to disclose any evidence which suggests that P Chidambaram has ever influenced or tampered with any evidence. Back to you.
Okay, so the condition also that the Supreme Court has said is that P Chidambaram cannot travel out of the country without getting the requisite permission from the court. They've also said that he is not to speak or contact any witnesses. He's not going to interact with the media either. That is another rule that the Supreme Court has put out. This is conditional bail that's been granted with 2 sureties and a bail bond of 2 lakhs. But this is big breaking news that's come in. You've also got the first reaction that we're putting out on our screens from Karti Chidambaram, who says, at last, after 106 days, followed by an emoji. So Karti Chidambaram, they're celebrating that his father is finally going to be released out on bail. It's been a long 105 days for P Chidambaram, who's been lodged at the Tihar Jail for many months now, and he's finally going to be walking out possibly by this afternoon itself. We'll get clarity on when exactly he's going to be leaving from Tihar Jail, from also his legal team. But the breaking news that's coming in is that the Supreme Court has gone ahead and granted bail to P Chidambaram. Let me once again take this across to our legal correspondent Anisha Mathur. Anisha, the Supreme Court also made some very interesting mentions while reading out that bail order with regards to what the Delhi High Court had said. They've also questioned why the Delhi High Court went to the merits of the case.
Well, yes, Akshita, there has been clear on that aspect that the Delhi High Court should not have opened the sealed cover information that the ED had given them, because remember, this had created a huge controversy with Chidambaram's lawyers arguing that sealed cover information was given, some information regarding statements by certain witnesses was given to the Delhi High Court and also to the Supreme Court, which had an impact on the merits of the case itself. And the court, the Supreme Court today has said that while the Delhi High Court was justified in looking into the gravity of the offence, they do not approve of the fact that the High Court looked into the sealed cover reports and made observations with regard to the merits of the case or what exactly the investigation has happened so far, because this is only the stage of bail.
Okay,
And it's very
Anisha.
clear,
Anisha, if you could just clarify one point for us, has Chidambaram been asked to surrender his passport?
well, that condition had been imposed a long time ago by the trial court itself. In the CBI case
Okay.
itself, he is not allowed to travel without court permission. And that's by that, in fact, let me just clarify, Ashita, that is a standard condition that is imposed in any case where investigation is still ongoing, to ensure that the person who is under investigation does not disappear. So that condition had been imposed in the CBI case as well. That he will surrender his passport and he will not travel without the court permission. That is something that has been imposed on P Chidambaram as well. We've seen in the last 2 years, every single time that he's had to go abroad for one of his business trips, he's had to come to the Supreme Court, request permission, and then travel to wherever he is required to travel to.
Can this be deemed as only temporary relief, Anisha? Are there more legal options ahead for the ED and CBI?
Well, no, Akshita. With this bail granted by the Supreme Court and the investigation still ongoing, at this stage, P Chidambaram is, for now at least, free and clear to walk out of the Tihar Jail. What will happen later, we will see when the charge sheet in this case is finally filed, when the trial process begins. At that time, if the Enforcement Directorate or the CBI believe that the trial may be affected by P Chidambaram not being in custody, then they can move a plea to cancel bail. In fact, that is what they had done that is what they've been saying they will do for P Chidambaram also, that they will be moving court to cancel the bail that has been granted to him. But that is something that will have to happen much later, because remember, the Enforcement Directorate is yet to actually file a charge sheet in this case. In fact, at least one of the co-accused in this case is still not been arrested or interrogated by the Enforcement Directorate, because, as Manish was discussing, a number of senior officials of the Finance Ministry, Department of Economic Affairs, are also co-accused, are also under investigation. So we'll have to see how this is going to play out now that the political figures at the head of the entire controversy has now been granted bail.
Okay, so this is huge relief that's coming for P Chidambaram. Anisha, Munish, do stay with us. We're slipping into a very short break here on India Today. On the other side, we keep our focus firmly on the developments that have come in from the Supreme Court. P Chidambaram finally getting bail. He's going to be walking out in some time from now from the Tihar Jail. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.